the table control.
Look at you go.
Look at that.
Mate, you can go up more if you
I
want.
can put it here, and then I won't look.
You could do whatever you like. Yeah. Okay. Hey everybody, it's Matt, and we're at Texas Toast Guitars. Thanks for joining us. I was tired yesterday. I'm tired today. And how are you, Chris?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So Brian Duncan came in today.
Uh-huh.
Brought us donuts.
Uh-huh.
I ate 2 of them, so I think I'm sugar crashing.
That's probably what's going on. Yeah. Uh-huh. Did it fix anything?
No.
It tastes good.
It tasted good.
Yeah.
What so what'd you guys get into today?
So we did some sanding and some pore filling, and then I sealed a bunch of stuff at the end of the day.
You've been painting and painting and painting this
every
week.
day.
What? There's really nothing that's like that needed something that didn't get something. You know what I mean? Is like everything that we needed to get started got started. Everything that needed to get finished got fit. Well, there was a couple that because
there were 2 that didn't. There's one that we're waiting for a color, but those aren't for people. Those are for people.
What was the other one?
They're not orders. They're
they're going to be things that people are going to
going to want them.
But what did
everything else?
There was that gold that we wanted to get. What was the other one?
It's just an amber thing.
Well, I guess I don't see. I don't even know what's happening. So, so Chris, we've got some good stuff to talk about tonight. But I've got some good questions for you.
Okay.
This is a slightly different thing.
Okay.
We've never done this before.
Okay.
So this is rate these 5 guitars without knowing what comes next. So now I'm going to give you now since this is the first time
a 1 out of 5 rating.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you got
rate them from.
Just wait. There's only 5.
Okay.
So if I say like guitar.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. You say that's number 3.
Okay.
Or number 4. Or actually, guitar 1, 2, 3 is not a good guitar. Let's say it's not on the list, but if I said Hondo 2 Les Paul, you would say whatever it would be.
1.
But you don't know what's coming after it. So you might want to save some stuff, or you might want to not save some stuff. Now, because this is the first time we've ever done it.
Okay.
I'm not gonna say there's no surprises, but I am gonna say there's nothing that I think you're into on the list.
Okay.
So it's not like so don't worry, the last one isn't gonna be Fender Jazzmaster, and then you have
5.
So
I'm ranking them by my choice of guitar.
Yeah, that's
what I think is the coolest is number 1.
Yep.
Down to 5.
Yep.
Maybe almost as cool, but not as cool.
Well, that's what you're hoping.
Or totally lame.
But you don't know what the next one's going to be. Ready?
Yes.
All right. Here comes the first one.
Okay.
Gibson 1275 double neck, 1 through 5.
1 through 5. I will put that at is it a 612 or a 6 mandolin?
A 612, the 1275. Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah.
It's not the one that, and these aren't necessarily anyone that like one specific person owned.
Jimmy Page's.
Yeah.
Well, the easy answer would be 3, but I'm going to go.
But you only have that
4.
answer one time.
Yeah, I'm going to say 4.
Okay, 4th out of 5. Okay, the next one is the Ibanez Artist, that 70s one, that the double cutaway.
Oh, okay, the double cutaway one. I'll say. I think those are actually pretty neat. I'll say 2.
2. Okay. All right.
How am I doing so far?
So you only have odd numbers left.
You're fine, Chris.
You're doing good.
Okay. So one of these I have to say isn't as cool as those 2. Okay.
And one
2 of them I have to say isn't as
cooler than both.
Cooler than one, and not as cool. Yeah. Now it's going to get tricky.
All right. Next is the Guild Polara. That's that kind of smushy SG shapey thing.
Oh, the smushy SG.
The double cutaway that it was kind of pointy.
Yeah, but it's like an offset SG looking that Kim Thale plays.
Sure, let's say that.
Oh man, I'm gonna say 5.
5. Okay. All right.
Not a fan.
All right. So you have 1 and 3 left.
1 and 3. Okay.
All right. Here we go.
I'm gonna get saddled here. I know it.
This one is the Kramer Beretta.
Well, Shit. What do I have left? 1 and
1 and
3?
3, yeah.
3.
Okay. That leaves the Ovation breadwinner as number 1.
I would have said that no matter what.
Okay. All right.
For one
Okay.
thing, how often do you see a breadwinner?
That's very uncommon. Yeah.
You also, when you see one, you remember seeing it.
You remember see who did like Randy Bachman play a breadwinner, or I'm sure some of the our esteemed
I
uh,
think I've seen a couple of people that you're like, what the hell is he playing
what
that
in the
for?
world?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you lose a bet?
So esteemed
I
audience
like the
members, let
creatures.
me know. Let me know who what famous guy. I'm sure there's one of them played the Ovation breadwinner, and
Besides Roy Clark and or my
well,
boy Glenn Campbell.
well, and maybe they did. Did they?
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay,
You
gang.
know Glenn Campbell played one.
Did he? I no, I don't.
Wow, because he was an Ovation guy.
Oh,
Because
okay.
they gave him
Okay.
guitars.
Okay. Yeah.
He was also a Mosrite guy because they gave him guitars.
Well, that was I like that one. That's fun.
Yeah,
You
that
don't
was
know.
fun.
You don't know which one's coming.
No,
Yeah.
no, I'm just glad you didn't say yeah, acrylic BC Rich, which might have gotten number 1 as well. Yeah. What color? Orange. Oh no.
Yeah.
5.
Yeah.
5.
Okay. So anyway, I've got some very important news, Chris, about this live stream and all the other future, really all the other future live streams to come.
Okay.
One is we have this new sign courtesy of Brian Duncan,
Mm-hmm.
who had it made for us or made it. You made it? You had it made. All right. Well, thank you, Brian. This is cool. Listen, what do you guys think of this cool sign? The other thing is if you noticed on the not the thumbnail, but um the the title of the video, the last two words are no ads. Know why it says no ads?
Because there's no ads.
Because I have
Turned off the
I
ad
have yeah, that's
generator.
right. I have taken away monetization for the live videos. Know why? For my friend Doug Santaniello, who says that he's always getting ads in the middle of stuff, and it's right in the middle, and it's bumming him out.
Yeah.
So we're still going to have ads for the regular videos on Sunday.
Now watch 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Dan Andrades will say, "I have an app that stops."
Oh
ads.
yeah, well, you know what you can do though. Yeah. So if you have so what I'm basically doing is I'm robbing you of the privilege of not watching ads by not putting any ads on here. So I have an app for no ads too. It's called demonetizing the live
Yeah.
videos. So
Something
Doug, I
was
did
just
that for you.
subscribe to YouTube.
What's that?
Something I did was just subscribe to YouTube
Yeah,
for the monthly, just because, not because of
oh,
this, but
okay.
just because of everything else. And watching videos is
It's
so much nicer.
okay. How
'Cause you
much
just
does it cost to do that?
It's $10 or $11
Okay.
or $13.
Well, I
It's
decided
not
that
$12.
I decided that it was a good idea to lose the ad revenue from the live videos, and here's why. I'm betting that people will make up for it with super chats. So, guys, if you get anything out of these videos, feel free to drop us a super chat and let us know what you think, because we're not going to have any more ads
On live streams?
on the live streams, which it's a
Cool.
courtesy to you guys.
Mhm.
So anyway, so okay. So what do you think of that?
I'm all for it.
Okay. All right. So I'm not really looking at the comment section. I'm looking at it, but I don't have my glasses on, so I can't really see it. But thanks for hanging out with us, you guys. And I also want to let it be known that if you have a question, put like a bunch of like question marks or asterisks or something that makes it stand out, other than like, because like if you all you want to do is talk to Brian, that's cool. But if you want me to answer your question, put something so I can see, or Chris. So and that way I can sit back here. Okay, so here we go right here. So we just got a super chat from Joey Dano Guitars, who says commercial free. So thank you, Doug. And it was Doug was the reason I did it, because he was like, man, there's so many stupid ads all the time. So I wanted to take them out. So thank you for helping us out with that, Doug. I really appreciate it. By the way, Doug, what are we doing with your guitar down here? Are we saving it on the pile of guitars that you're going to get in September, or let me know? Chris's phone is blowing up. But the purpose of today's video is we want to talk about. We had a lot of questions about Plek stuff that happened. And so last week's video, we had a guitar Pleked. Tony sent us a super chat and says, boom, there you twos go. Thank you so much, Tony.
Yep. I just thought it's, you know what Plek backwards is? Kelp.
It sure is.
Yep.
Dan Andrada sent us a few bucks and said, no ads means nothing to me. Here's some cans.
I have an app.
He didn't say that, but yeah. So anyway, thank you guys for the super chats. And it makes viewer supported is better anyway. So anyhow. So last Sunday we did a video that was kind of an introduction to Plek. That is a CNC machine that grinds frets level. And I'm oversimplifying, but we got 45 minutes to talk about the Plek machine, what it does, what it may not do, maybe some misconceptions about it. We had a lot of comments on that video, and of course, Plekking a guitar takes X number of minutes, hours, whatever. So I didn't just let the camera run and you guys get to see every single thing. I thought let's just kind of get a primer on what the Plek machine actually is. But so yeah, but I still think there's a lot of misinformation or a lot of ideas about the Plek machine that aren't necessarily true. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. It was a bit of an eye opener for me. I knew a little bit about it, not a lot. But I was surprised. In some ways, I was surprised at what all it was capable of doing. It could do things that I didn't think it could do, not related to frets. But then it also didn't do some stuff that I kind of assumed it would do.
Okay.
In relation to frets.
So let's talk about what the Plek machine actually does.
Okay.
So if you have a guitar that you just built or is brand new from a factory, or you've had it for 100 years, you wouldn't do that. But if you've had a guitar for a little while or a long time, you could send your guitar into Steve at Maximum Guitar Works and have it Pleked. We just got a super chat from 3J Music who said, keeping it ad-free. Thanks, my brother. So you send your guitar into Steve at Maximum Guitar Works or any of the places that do it. There's a handful in the United States, wherever you live. I'm sure there's some in other countries. And the neat thing that it does right off the bat is they string it up, or you send it in, it's got strings on it. You tune it up to whatever you tune your guitar to. I think that's important.
And you tell the Plek machine what strings you're using. I don't know that brand counts, but gauge certainly does.
Okay. And then they put it in the rig and they have a little thing that it's got a carbide piece that runs over the frets and the fretboard and does all kinds of stuff. And it gives you, before it cuts anything.
It figures out where the strings are, the path of the strings. It also figures out, it just measures everything. That was one of the neatest parts of it, I thought.
So it'll tell you if you have any high frets. It'll tell you if you have any nut slots that are too deep, not deep enough, or
it will measure. Measure the relief on the neck.
Hold on, I misspoke because I said what I said was if you have nut slots that aren't deep enough or too deep, the Plek machine doesn't decide if it's deep enough. It just tells you what it is.
Yeah.
You get to decide after that what it is.
Yeah. Okay, you set up the parameters that you want it. Yeah. But the first thing that it does is, well, you decide the parameters that you want, and then it measures, and then it will show you what is outside or inside of those parameters, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it shows all the frets, all the relief, all the strings, all the yeah.
Van Shank Guitars just sent us $2 and said, keep it ad free. You got it, my friend. Thank you so much. Rusty Shackelford has a quick question about finish. Can you explain the difference between the durable thin 72 and whatever finish you put on a level 3 and 4 challengers? The durable thin finish is not all the way sealed up, and the 73 finish is all the way sealed up. That's
Yes.
basically the basic.
Yeah, so level 2, 3, and 4, I'll get the same finish.
Dan wants to know if the machine has to take something off a high fret, does it crown it or leaves it flat? That's a great question.
Yeah, we will get to that.
Okay, so you put the rig in. When it is a good question. So you put the thing in there, and here's another super chat from Rob's Hog. Here strictly for the education. Thank you so much, Rob. I really appreciate that, my friend. Okay, so you put the guitar in the Plek machine. It scans everything, and then it kind of gives you an idea of, like you said, what the relief of the neck is.
And you can adjust that and rescan.
So does it tell you? Does it say time to make a truss rod adjustment?
I think it does.
Or does it? Okay.
Yeah, we should have given him a much worse guitar.
We really should have.
Yeah, because you can. Because I think we did actually adjust the truss rod on ours just a tick.
We did.
Yeah, we actually added relief.
So you can add a little bit of relief. You can take relief away. You can make the fretboard perfectly flat. You can have some relief. You can say, I want my strings to be, let's say, exactly 20 thousandths from the bottom of the low E to the top of the first fret, and a bunch of other measurements for all the other strings to the bottom of the string to the top of the first fret. That would be the depth of the nut slots. You could say, I want my strings to be, I don't know what, 30 thousandths of an inch off the 12th fret at the whatever it is that you want. So if you know those numbers, then you can it'll tell you, here's where you're close, here's where you need to make some adjustments. Is that right?
Yes.
Mike says, I heard it scans your neck basically so it knows how to adjust the frets. Highland Guitars guy said the customer sent one of his guitars to be Plek and they didn't do anything perfect fret job. Well, Mike, if the first of all, kudos to the Plek guy who didn't do anything, provided he didn't charge any money. If it didn't need anything. But I mean, I guess if they didn't have to do anything, it was because it was all in spec, right?
Yeah. So one of the things, you take a graph that's really, really, really small, and the differences are 100 thousandths or what was it? It was a thousandth. I can't even say the word. Thousandths of a millimeter.
Of a millimeter, yeah.
And we're talking about those kind of measurements, thousandths of millimeter. Yeah. And to be able to see that on a graph, you have to blow that graph way
just
up.
To be able to see.
Just to be able to see little spikes in that stuff.
Yeah.
And this fret here is 2 thousandths of a millimeter.
Yeah.
Out of line. Okay.
Joey Dano Guitar says we don't make worse guitars, so we could take. We could
have taken something else in. Yeah, yeah. We know people who have.
Sure.
Stuff. But so, and then it's up to the operator to decide if they even think that all of this stuff is correctable, and how are you're going to correct it, because it's still it's almost like tuning. It's a numbers game, and it's finding exactly, because if I adjust this fret, then this one's going to be out, and it's on down the line.
So Mike was asking if the Plek machine guy didn't do anything, was it a perfect fret job? Maybe, or it could have been so far gone that it's like, well, I'm not taking your money.
It could have been that. Yeah, it could have been. And I think once again, the guy that's running the machine and the parameters that they set for that. Because you can change the parameters. You could have, pretty big tolerances to be totally in spec, or you can have really close tolerances to be in your spec, in your company's Plek machine spec.
So being able to verbalize what you want your guitar how you want your guitar to be set up is really going to,
And that's one of
is
the
the
things that
first
Steve
half.
talked about was, you can't just go, well, I want it to play better, or I want it to, play like somebody's, because you can't look up somebody else's guitar. So you have to,
Yeah.
so there's, there's tolerances and stuff like that. And they spent quite a while like slightly tweaking things, and the machine sort of tweaks it to slide. Oh, well, we're going to take this one down, and then we're okay. So then it's going to have to do this, or what if you change the truss rod a little bit, and you kind of play around with it, and then you set out to do that stuff.
Yeah.
So we tweaked the truss rod just a hair, like a 16th of a turn or an eighth of a turn,
Hardly
or something
any, yeah.
ridiculous, and then measured again.
Mhm.
The measuring only takes 5 or 6 minutes, and then they said, okay, now we're ready to go. And then am I jumping ahead?
Well, let's take a couple of
Okay.
the super chats are coming in fast and furious here.
Okay.
And thank you guys for this so much. Steve Rotbach says, ad free, I'm in. Thank you, sir. Dogdritum. Dog Dr. Tim. Oh, okay. Sorry. Thank you, Brian.
Is he a dog doctor?
Maybe. Or I'm assuming his name is Tim. Wouldn't it be nice if string companies included a sticker for the back of the headstock to remind old farts like me what strings are on a guitar? I only have about 16 guitars, so I don't know why I can't just remember.
Could it be like a oil change sticker on your windshield?
I was actually watching the casino guitar guys say that, like,
Yeah.
sticker. Remember when guitar shops used to put stickers on the back of guitar for exactly that same thing?
Oh, did they?
They had some guitars that he said
that had like service stickers on them?
well, not bring your guitar in, but like, here's what came on your guitar.
Yeah,
Thanks to Chris's music shop.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Is
Yeah.
like we did this. Yeah, strung with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bob Potter sent us a super chat, this very first one ever, and says, Annie up. Thank you so much, Bob. So, okay. So if you're able to verbalize to your Plek operator what you want in number terms, not in terms like, I want it to play better, or I want it to have a woody finish, or I want it to sound brown, or if you say, I want all my strings to be exactly 15 thousandths from the bottom of the string to the top of the first fret. That's an actual number that can be measured.
That is something. Yeah, one of the interesting things is, the ultimate action of the guitar is up to the operator.
Yep.
The machine, the Plek machine, doesn't have an Allen wrench,
no,
or a Phillips, or anything else that'll go in and actually adjust bridge height.
It can
You get to do that after. It'll tell you where you're at.
So it can measure things, and it can cut things off.
It can cut. It can. Yeah. So really,
add stuff on.
What it does, I think, what it does really well is it maps out the fretboard. It figures out high spots, low spots, high frets, low frets, how to maximize the fretboard. It will also do nut work.
Yeah. Okay. So you put the machine in there, or you put it in the machine. You tell the operator in actual numbers, whether you use decimals or metric. Okay. However you do it.
Yeah.
And
we talk in English. So when they were talking in millimeters, I was like, is that good?
Okay.
I don't know.
So you say, I want my nut slots to be this deep. I want my action at the 12th fret to be this. I want X amount of relief in my neck. I want the et cetera, et cetera. So it scans all that stuff in. Then you can pull all the strings off. And so let's say that you have a nut slot that is not deep enough, and you have one high fret. Or let's say you have, I don't know, 13 frets that are like a thousandth of a millimeter off, or 10 thousandths of a millimeter off, or something like that. You got a date or something?
No, I'm going on a little mountain bike trip tomorrow, and it's all my buddies texting back and forth what they're bringing. So far, it's a lot of PB and J making, which I am not super excited about.
Okay. All right, let's get back to pleking. So you have to verbalize to your operator what you want. They have to run it through the machine, scan it. And then the machine, so like, there's a little cutter that will make your nut slot the right depth if you have one that's off. Or let's say you have 6 that are off.
Mhm.
And it'll get it down to the accuracy
Mhm.
of thousandths of a millimeter.
Yep, yep.
Okay.
And that is one thing that ours did not need.
No, no, ours was good to go as is. And then it proceeds to make all the frets the same height.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
It takes into consideration the string tensions
Mhm.
and what's going to happen when you unstring it because the neck is going to change
No, but
as
it
you
does
do
put
that.
pressure on the neck a little bit, right?
Well, no. So initially you don't. All you do is hold the body and the headstock, and the neck can do necky things under tension.
Okay.
So then what you do is you add some stabilization to the neck,
Okay.
and then it remeasures
Yeah.
and figures out, okay, well now it's doing this, so we're going to have to do math in the computer's head,
Yep.
and then it goes at the frets, goes at the nut, and goes at the frets.
And we might be so like Pops is saying that this happens and that happens in the operator. Remember, we're not Plek operators, so
Right.
if we get a couple of things, if there's more
This is
scanning in between,
yeah, from what we saw and from what we remember, it was jam packed.
yeah. Okay, so then it starts to cut the frets. Now Dan asked, let's say it cut one fret.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have a flat spot on the fret.
Yeah. So
now the cutter has is kind of in
it's got
arc.
it's got a yeah.
So it's not like a grinding wheel.
No, it doesn't grind them flat, but it's one grinding wheel for all frets. And so
it's
this
a
is
cutter,
why,
right? It's
yeah.
not a grinder.
No, it's a cutter. Yeah,
okay.
yeah. It's a bunch of little, but it's
There's, as I recall, there's 3 radiuses, and then it picks the one that's closest to the fret width.
is that what it
I
does?
think
Okay.
so.
All right, that makes sense. But it's still okay. So there's 3 radiuses for all frets. And
Yeah.
it picks the one that's closest.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and then it goes through and it knocks them down. Yeah. And
Then you have to dress those frets.
and that was the one thing that I thought that machine would do that it does not do.
I was a little bit shocked that it didn't dress the frets.
Thought it might do something. Yeah, like at least polish them, buff them.
Now remember, this is Steve's Plek machine, which is the only one I've seen.
Yeah.
So don't come at me and go, some Plek machine in Germany does. Maybe it does. We
Maybe
don't know.
it looks exactly like the ones I've seen in videos.
Well, Tom was telling me that Framus has a Plek machine that actually puts the frets in.
Okay.
I don't know. I haven't seen it. So.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. So then you pull the guitar out, and then you get to dress the frets. Now, presumably the tops are all exactly where you want them. So really, all you need to do is maybe do a little rounding over.
Yeah.
And Steve has his own process for that. He probably got that from the guy that showed him how to do it, or got it from somebody.
Plus, Steve, if there's a way to mad scientist it, Steve will come up with it. Yeah.
And then you get to polish the frets.
And then you get to polish the frets.
And this is all operator or somebody working with the operator.
That's right. There's no rouge handwork. Like there's no buffer in there with an automatic rouge dispenser that goes through and polishes it.
Yep.
And,
yeah. So you do that. You do whatever process, and then you string it back up.
Yeah.
And then you tune it back up.
That's right. Because
and then you put it back in the machine
and scan it again. And then at some point, if you have any saddles that are off, you're going to need to adjust those.
And it'll tell you, and you could go back and forth. You could then go and adjust your saddles, and then put it back in the machine, or you could just assume that it's good. One of the funny things I was thinking about, our nut didn't need anything, and that's because we used that little StuMat gauge that tells me exactly where we are.
Yep. We didn't use feeler gauges for that?
No.
Yeah.
We also used that gauge at the other end. We used that gauge at the other end after it told us, that they were a little high, which we knew because it took a little bit off the frets.
Yeah. And the neck needed to be,
the interesting thing when it does the frets is it takes tiny little passes, 0.004 of a millimeter,
something like that,
off. So it will do, like there was a fret halfway down the neck that needed one extra pass or something like that, you know? It did one pass, two passes, whatever
We
it
asked
was.
Steve, we were like, so yeah, the neck that we took in needed very, very little work. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but maybe I am in a little bit, in a way. But he did say, and now I didn't ask him, and he did not offer this information, but he did say that he had seen guitars come in that needed lots and lots and lots of work.
Yeah.
In terms of the number of passes that it took to get the frets to be level. Now, I would imagine, and I don't know, I'm just guessing because I have to guess because I didn't ask and he didn't tell me. If you have like a guitar that is built at a factory somewhere where you, as the factory employee, you have a brief amount of time to get the frets ready and dressed, and there's probably not a lot of leveling and dressing going on at a big factory that sells guitars at a price point.
Phil McNay was talking about that, and he has a little bit of insight on just how long some companies actually spend on that stuff.
I never knew that until about 15 years ago. Like I talked to someone who worked at Gibson, and they're like, we have 5 minutes to do when it comes to my station. I have 5 minutes to do whatever it is.
Whatever the step is. Yeah. And he was talking about Sir guitars, and that he really likes their fretwork. And he's like, but I know they spend a long, long time. He says, I bet you they spend 2 hours, and that's not actually true. They probably spend an hour doing frets. And he says, in the world of guitar manufacture, that's a long, long time on mass produced frets. And he goes, because I guarantee that Gibson and Fender don't spend that kind of time on those frets. They run them through a lot faster than that.
What I can tell you is that how proud we are of our fretwork. And it does show. And like, so for example, like this, how many minutes of fret? So like all of our frets are pressed in by hand. They're all glued in by hand. They're all checked every step of the way. They get leveled. They get dressed. They get buffed. I would say it's easily an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours when you add up.
If you add up all the time, So I think they were just talking about, now, and I have no idea about Sir's process for frets. We do a bunch of stuff before the final, before sealer and all of that, so that when the guitar comes out of paint, the fretwork should be fairly minimal.
That's the idea. And before the frets go in, the fretboard is perfectly flat,
and that's something that I've been thinking a lot about with this Plek thing is that if you're making fretboards with a beam and with a radius block, you're probably putting a little bit of a hole in it.
You might not even notice if you're looking at thousands of millimeters.
Thousands of millimeters. But anyway, I know from my own experience doing fretboards that way, that's kind of what was happening. And then you compound that with fret pressing and all this other stuff. And something that you and I, spent a lot of time on is making fretboards as perfect can be before you start any of that other stuff. And we're pretty proud of the rig that we have and the modifications that we had that we made to that rig versus previous things that we did that sometimes worked, sometimes didn't work as well. Our fretboards are dead flat when they come out of that jig, and radius perfectly, flat and radiused. But anyway, they're all the right things in all the right directions, and then you press frets in, and hopefully that, and all of this just helps to minimize issues down the road, right? And so you ask, how long do you spend on frets? Well, it depends. Sometimes
if you take into consideration the fretboard radius is part of that, then that's a thing
sometimes there's a little thing here or a little thing there, whatever. Sometimes there's nothing. But when we and guitar building is all about processes. Especially in the numbers that we're building and above. If you're building 3 guitars a year, not so much. But we run them through all of our processes, knowing that the processes are solid, hoping for the same result every time.
And they're processes that you and I have developed over the last decade. And even the glue that we use.
And they change a little bit here and there, some of the processes. But it's funny. everything I do the exact same way. I was thinking about that today when I was pour filling. I'm like, why do I, when I pour fill, why do I do the back and then the sides and then the top and then the neck?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, well, that's because that's the way I paint. Yeah.
Okay.
Why do I sand back, then the sides, then the top, then the neck? Because that's the way I paint. That's the way I pour fill. That's the way I, do everything. And the reason I start on the back is because if I F it up, I could probably sand it off, or I don't want to start on the top and go, oh, that's ugly.
Crap, a bunch of crap shoots out of the paint gun.
Exactly. Yeah, even though I go over and I give it a test spray or whatever, but yeah, I always start on the back.
Yeah.
And that's just one small process, but everything I try to do exactly the same way every single time. Speeds it up. You start seeing similarities and things go smoother.
All right, let's talk a little bit about what the Plek machine isn't gonna do.
Okay.
So you've already mentioned there's no wrench, there's no turny, screwy, inny outy thing.
Correct.
So Plek machine is not going to adjust your bridge saddle, your pickup height, your any of that stuff.
Correct. Yeah, it won't. Yeah, it won't. And yeah, so that is all up to the operator or whoever is doing that final setup. And I think this might be one of the reasons why people say sent a guitar in, had it Pleked, didn't like it. It's not because of the Plek machine. It's because of whoever was doing the stuff afterwards.
It could be. So imagine if you had a Gibson. No, let's make it even. Imagine you had a Jaguar, Fender Jaguar, that's 24-inch scale.
Okay.
And you tuned down to C, and you used nines, and you said, I want the action to be 25 thousandths off the 12th fret, and I don't want it to buzz anywhere acoustically. Well, that's just not going to happen.
Right.
Now, your operator can set all that stuff up and tune it to whatever thing you want to tune it to. Steve has one of those Pearson strobe tuner things. You can tune it way down and put super light string gauges on it, and it's gonna buzz. It provided you want that kind of action acoustically. Now, so you might need to put bigger strings on it. You might need to, but yeah. So let's take a quick super chat from Corey. Hi, Corey. How you doing?
So Corey F.
It is. Yeah. He says the video was also showed the labor and tediousness behind the cost to do a Plek. I don't feel I would notice, but if I had a guitar I loved but had a slight twist, I think I would consider it. Yeah. So okay. So will a Plek machine take care of a twist in the neck?
Maybe. Yeah, it depends on the
That might be a time though when you want to. Here's what a Plek machine would do: you would pull all the frets, re-level the fretboard with the Plek machine, re-radius the fretboard with the Plek machine, put all new frets in.
Yeah, and that was one of the neat things that it did that I didn't know it would do. It will also put in inlay.
That's right. You can do inlay with it.
Like after the fact, I think, because you put it in and then machine it down without having to do a whole bunch of extra curricular stuff.
Now, obviously, depending on how bad the twist is, the Plek machine isn't going to fix any twist in any neck, but it might be able to do some things easier than Ryan says, I love that Chris starts on the back and the sides and then moves to the front. Is that something I might not know what? Yeah.
No, so that's how I do all my that's all my
okay. Oh, so okay, so what else will the Plek machine not do?
Don't be tickling or nothing.
Yeah. Well, here's one thing that I was surprised: the Plek machine won't do anything with the fret ends.
No.
At all.
No. So if you've got sticky outies and nubbies and pokies, you're gonna still have nubbies and sticky outies.
You have to deal with those by hand.
Yeah. So I think there has to be a certain level of fretwork done before you stick it in the Plek machine, even if it's, I don't want to say minimal, but yeah, you can't clip frets off and okay, there you go, Plek machine, do your work, because it won't do that.
Yeah. So if you one of the things that we do and we spend a lot of time doing is breaking the corners on the fret, so you don't have 44 little tiny chisels on the end of the neck.
Yeah.
The Plek machine won't do that. You'll still have to do that. You still have to polish them. You still
have to polish them, and that is a skill. And depending on who is doing it, you can probably have different results.
Here's the thing, that the Plek machine is not going to make your guitar. If you send a guitar that plays in tune everywhere to get Pleked, it's not going to all of a sudden make it play out of tune everywhere. One thing the Plek machine, Steve's Plek machine, does not do, and I don't know, again, this is my sample size of one. There's only 30 of them in the United States, so I don't know. I asked him, could it do a compensated nut? He said, no. I thought for sure it would do something like that, but it doesn't like tune it, and then the computer hears the pitch and go, this is one micro something sharp. We need to compensate the B string a little bit. It won't do that.
Yeah. What it does is it ensures that the frets are as level as they possibly can be using CNC and digital stuff. The guys that use feeler gauges probably hate Plek machines.
I'm sure they love to say how Plek machines suck and don't ever send a guitar in to be Pleked.
Yeah,
you got to have the hand. Yeah. I knew a guy who sent in to be Pleked, and all of a sudden his 1958 Flying V, now it sucked all of a sudden. So don't ever say that would be what those guys would say. I didn't say.
But ultimately there's still, and it's just like everything with CNC. It's ultimately, there's still a bunch of human interaction that goes into the finished product.
If you have a dodgy CNC operator, don't be surprised if you get a dodgy product at the end, regardless of how much money you spend. Having said that, if you buy a $5,000 CNC machine or a $250 CNC machine, I'm not saying you can't get good results, but don't be surprised if you don't get the same level of consistency as a $250,000.
Well, but also everybody thinks of a CNC machine as a guitar maker. Like
I used to.
You shove the piece of wood into it, and out the other side comes a fully finished guitar. And that's just not true. There's, all it does is cut down on some other time. And the Plek machine is kind of the same way. You get very consistent results. It tells you down to the thousandth of a millimeter where you are, and then it's up to you, the operator, or you, the whatever, to utilize that information and do with it what you will.
Now imagine if you're Steve and you get guitars from all over the country and they're all different. You can't start to, well, I'm sure you can start to notice similarities, but not if, like, so I think Gibson has a Plek machine and all the guitars there get Pleked.
That's what they say.
So if you're making Les Pauls and you're doing 1,000 of them, you probably can see a lot of similarities. You can probably get it in the machine in and out fast and eliminate the handwork.
And you can probably start to see differences in batches and in months, and then
who really knows what their parameters are, right?
Exactly. You can set those parameters fairly wide, just like you can when as a guitar manufacturer, you can set all your parameters fairly wide. And
well, I'm not suggesting that this is what Gibson did, but let's just say, for the sake of conversation, that some guitar company that has a Plek machine and they're making 1,000 guitars a month, and they say the nut slots need to be 25 to 15 thousandths, very level of deviation at the nut, and they need to be 80 thousandths high at the 12th fret or whatever. Well, you might get that guitar and go, this thing sucks. But it's within the parameters of that company's. So again, it's being able to tell the machine what your margin of error is and what.
Well, and sometimes I think, and I think Dylan had a video on this, and I've seen some other stuff. Some of that stuff is, in a lot of ways, kind of up to the end user. Not everybody wants, their action at the first fret to feel like a 0 fret, to be, so close that you almost just think about touching it and it frets. at the first fret.
I would imagine that Joe
So
Satriani's desired action is very different from Angus Young's.
yeah, and at the nut and other places, and it's much easier to remove material.
Yeah.
Also, string gauges. You know, I think that's one of the reasons that a lot of guitars come with nines, is because a lot of people don't set up stuff with lighter gauges than that. It's easy to go up in gauge and make those slots wider. I also think that nines are easier to press down. I know they are.
So if your nut
So if your
slots
nut
are
slides
slightly,
are
it
slightly
doesn't
high,
feel as
it feels pretty good. There's room for improvement. Yeah, and the error, the margin of error on some of this stuff, you know, is half of a high E string.
Yeah.
You know, it's so small you can't even think about it, you know? Like you were talking, 15 to 25,000. Well, that's the thickness of an E string.
Yeah. Of half an E string. Oh, 15 to 25.
Yeah. I was like,
Hey, Paul,
what?
thank
You're
you very
playing
much.
fives?
Fives.
Wow, man. Take that, Billy Gibbons.
Yeah.
But you know, it's just, I mean, you can get so deep in the weeds on this stuff. And it's
I've got a few more things I want to talk about with Plek machine, but lower in court, spiral upcut bit. That's what you want to use. So
yes, what bit to use to cover yourself in shavings?
No, Rauda humbucker and a telly. Okay, so what is one thing that the Plek machine could do better than, don't say measure to thousandths of them. What's one thing that you perceive a Plek machine could do easier than you could do by hand? But even a skilled operator, even a skilled fret dress level.
Well, the one thing that it does that we don't do is the whole idea of string tension and the guitar under string tension, which changes the guitar. And sometimes, you know, a truss rod isn't a cure-all for everything.
Yeah.
And there's things that it won't fix. This can compensate for some of that. You can take measurements under string tension, and then go from there.
I have one. Let's say you wanted to use stainless steel frets and you hated grinding stainless steel frets. Boom, the Plek machine is for you. Now, let's say you wanted to use like 55 thousandths tall stainless steel fret wire and you had a 12-inch radius board and you wanted to make the frets 16-inch radius by the time it got down to the end. No problem. Plek machine is for you. There's stuff that you can do with the Plek machine that would be trickier to do by hand. But for all the neat stuff that it does, and all the stuff that you thought it might do, but it doesn't do. There's some stuff that if you get creative, the Plek machine could really do some neat stuff.
I thought it was a cool tool. It was different than I thought it was going to be, but it was not any less cool because of that.
So one of the things that we've decided, is it okay to tell people what we're going to do with Plek stuff? Okay. So from now on, you're going to be able to click on the website. Yes, I want my guitar Pleked, or no, I don't want my guitar Pleked. I still have to figure out. So if you bought a guitar from us, so like if you bought this guitar or this guitar, or well, not this guitar, actually, yeah, if you got that guitar, that's Mike's, and you wanted it Pleked, we'd be happy to send it down to Steve's, and for whatever it costs us to do that, you can have your guitar Pleked.
Yeah.
So it's really going to be up to you. If you check the yes, I want my guitar Pleked, it'll add on whatever money that is, and then expect to get a call or an email from Chris or Steve or myself saying, okay, what are we doing with it? What are we hoping to achieve by Plekking this guitar?
And I think we'll have some just standard parameters. If somebody says, well, just do, set it up the way you think it needs to be done.
However, Chris and I do take a lot of pride in our fretwork. Quite a bit, as a matter of fact. And maybe more so than a lot of other places. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, because I don't. The things that we do now, I've never taken a guitar and run them through the QC and the things that we check now. It would be fun to take a fret rocker to Guitar Center. It would be fun to take a lot of measuring tools to a Guitar Center and just start measuring guitars, not just cheap ones, but really high-end ones and go, oh, okay, yeah. And I know I'm way pickier than I used to be on stuff like that. And I notice things now that I didn't used to notice, even on our own stuff. I can just see things and I'm like, oh yeah, that needs this and this and this.
Well, and
but I'm pretty picky. And the idea that that fret's not that high, not a thing. No, they're all level.
Yeah.
Um,
So again, don't think that we're gonna. Here's what we will not do: put out a product that isn't up to speed, and then go, well, you had the option to get it Plek. I'm not going to do that. You can the quality that you have come to expect from us is still going to be there. If you are one of those guys who's like, I gotta have it Plek just to be sure, no problem, we got you covered.
Yeah.
If you want to get it for a while and play it and go, hey, you know what, I want to Plek. Okay, fine. Here's what some people have asked me: Will Plekking change if, like, as through climate variation from winter to summer? I live in a humid place or what. Plekking would I suppose you could have your guitar Pleked twice a year if you wanted to have a truss rod adjustment. That seems like an awful lot of money to
I
spend.
think that under tension with the same strings, that guitar is, whether it changes a little bit and you have to tweak the truss rod or not, I think all of that stuff is going to be cured with truss rod adjustment.
Yeah.
Um,
But I suppose that if you played the holy living crap out of your guitar and you ground a bunch of frets down, Plekking the neck might
yeah.
It might it would be you could basically send it to have it Pleked just like you would have a level and dress. That would be a thing if you wanted
Yeah,
to do that.
yeah, and that actually might be a really good use of a Plek machine, would be to do that, yeah.
So, yes, Brian.
So to me, a cool thing would be if you have a guitar you love, you can have them scope that on the Plek.
Good point.
Then they can duplicate that.
Yeah. So I don't know if you guys can hear what Brian's saying because he's way over there, but he basically said if you have a guitar that I really like this guitar and I want all my other guitars to be set up the same way, no problem. Steve can scan that guitar. Or you can buy that tool from Stu Mac and do, or get really, really close.
You get really, really close. The neat thing about this is it tells you everything on all strings, on on a graph, on everything. You can see exactly where everything lies.
Yeah.
So it would be fun to take a guitar that somebody really, really loves and stick it on there and see how truly good or bad it is.
Yeah.
Because I think in a lot of ways you kind of get used to stuff, and your favorite guitar may not be the most perfect guitar in the world, but for other reasons it's the one that you like.
I think you guys would be surprised if you saw holy grail guitars get scanned on a Plek machine or given to someone with some tools that you can measure and see just how not excellent they are.
Pretty average, and things wouldn't pass muster today.
The simple fact is that most awesome stuff that has happened throughout history has been done with pretty ho-hum gear, and you can put that across the board.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It doesn't, not just guitar stuff, but lots and lots of
I was watching a video today, and Joe Satriani was talking about how the vintage market has never really done anything for him. And one of the reasons was that he was teaching guitar at a vintage guitar store, and and this was the early 80s, he had access to all sorts of even then it was really cool vintage stuff. And he's like, man, I played 50s Les Pauls. I played 50s Fenders. He goes, most of it's terrible, but people buy it because it's cool and old. Even back then they did. And he said most of that stuff got sold to people that came over from other countries and carted it off because it was American, it was old, and it was cool.
Yeah.
And but as far as an instrument, it was ho hum.
Well, I think a lot of people, think that the late 50s were the good old days for guitar quality, and I'm not saying they weren't, but frankly, the good old days are right now.
You can't, and you can't have it both ways. You can't say that a CNC machine makes a more accurate guitar, and then in the next breath say they don't build them like they used to. Well, you can say that, but you can't say that the quality was better back in the old days, because frankly, there was a bunch of stuff that slid by QC back then. And 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 the other thing is one man's holy grail is another man's turd.
Old used guitar.
I'll pass on that one. And the next guy is, man, this is the greatest thing ever. So anyway.
If you grew up in the 80s, everything you liked in high school was not Pleked.
No.
But if you want your guitar Pleked now, well, we'll be happy to set you up.
It wasn't even, I bet you back then the good guys used feeler gauges, and everybody else used like a pick or went by eye,
went by eye,
sat there and went, well, that looks pretty good. Or they just sort of wore into where they played good. I've heard of people talking about stuff like that too. Don't change any of the parts, because that guitar's been a thing for a long time, and it's worn into itself.
Lefty says, how many people relic their guitar then Plek?
I wonder if the Plek machine could put in relic marks in like a maple board.
I bet you there will be a machine that is an automatic relicking machine.
Yeah, that'd be rad. Yeah. You could pick your relic. I want Rory Gallagher.
I want the same flat spot and cowboy chord thing,
and smashes stuff into it. Yeah.
So anyway, well, guys, we're running out of time, but if you want to talk more about Plekking, I think Dylan is going to be talking about more Plek stuff tonight.
He's actually had some guitars that he bought Pleked from somebody else.
Okay.
I didn't want to mention names, Brian.
Yeah, okay.
And I don't know where he stands on all of that stuff. And it would be interesting to hear his take on it. Because, as a guitar guy, I trust Steve, and I know that Steve is fastidious in his execution on stuff.
You cannot pay people to care.
Correct.
So if you have an operator like Steve or Chris or myself, we already give a crap.
Yeah.
So you get that going in. You can't pay someone minimum wage. And
I would give less of a crap if I had another 2 dozen to Plek that day.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. There or 100 to Plek.
And there would be parameters would be widened.
Yep, I'm sure they are.
And
So Paul, thank you for telling everyone how good your Challenger Level 2 is, and I'm glad that you like it, my friend. By the way, that guitar is featured on the Texas Toast homepage right now as we speak. It's up there.
Cool. The green one?
The green one, yep. So anyway, gang, thanks for hanging out with us. We will Jimmy and I might be doing a reveal tomorrow. We might not. I'll let you know right before it happens.
I'll be in Utah.
Yeah. So guys, go over and head over to Dylan and give him some love. Thank you for all the super chats. You guys remember, from now on, all of our live things are going to be no ads, ad free. I've prophylactically taken all the ads out. So thank you guys for helping make it worthwhile. We will see you guys soon, and take care, everybody.